Hello everyone, welcome to Tanks Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development for today's items only. The investment I'm going to talk today would be Ethereum TKTH. First, just want to say happy Monday, everybody. A great weekend, by the way. Respect to recording time of 9:17 a.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum trading $3,584, up about 1.80% so far. Respect to the news front, how are we? What are the macro factors or the micro factors that's been shaking out the current price level that we are looking at so far. I've been collecting some news, and also looking into the historical news that's been coming out in a chronological order, and I've basically identified like the five factors so far, right, that are driving these volatility that we've been experiencing so far, and also triangulate into the current level that we are at right now, right? So with respect to the first one, just out of the five specific factors, would be firstly the Vitalik Buterin's news, right, on his frankly negative depictions towards the El Salvador mandatory usage for Bitcoin for his for the merchants and businesses in the country, right? Is basically saying that there is a lack of education, and there's a heavily emphasis on BTC maximalists, which if you think about that, the brand entity for Bitcoin maximalists is basically Jack Dorsey. So he's obviously saying that there are still lack of compliance and regulatory infrastructure to protect El Salvador, which frankly is a third world country, that with the lack of education, which I think is a little bit too left viewed, per my understanding, that is frankly uncalled for as well. That he speaks negatively against the government, saying that there should be some regulatory infrastructure be in place first before you mandatorily require the residents in El Salvador to be using Bitcoin, when there's such a lack thereof for the regulatory infrastructure. So something we ultimately, Vitalik, he is a Ethereum founder. He is obviously pro Ethereum. I think he comes from a good place, but the verbiage that he has said is a little bit uncalled for. But also we have to adjust for, what's his incentive, number one, and secondly with respect to the media affectation, because sometimes journalists can twist the words in a way that can convey the not the direct message that that he means to have, right? So that's something we have to adjust for. And then the next one that's driving the market to be kind of shaky is with respect to Michael Burry. So the hedge fund manager has spoken out on Twitter recently, and he's saying that there are so many altcoins that are not substantive. Like he's named like Shiba Inu, which is basically like a copycat for Dogecoin. He's saying that there are way too many of these BS tokens in circulations, and he worries that with these hype and euphoria, people could subsequently lose a lot of money. So he's he subsequently deleted the post. Actually, he's saying that something about like 1 quadrillion seconds, about 32 million years, and 1 quadrillion years is 2.7 trillion years, or all of time from the beginning of the universe multiplied by 71,000. In other words, pointless. So he's basically is like a cryptic message, but he's basically talking about like with respect to the Shiba Inu token circulations, the numbers don't make any sense anymore, and he's he doesn't specifically talk about any other coins, but he just basically negative or speaks negatively on the non-substantive or like the more of the early stage type of the cryptocurrencies, I guess, right? So it's good to know, but like, is it really substantive? Is I think he just like ran on like a psychotic episode or something like that. I don't know. Not that I know about, but like I think he probably read something, or he sees some sort of metrics online, which stem from his depiction. But there isn't much about it. I think it's relatively a cryptic message. He was saying how he felt at the time. But anyways, so the next one, the third factor is Alibaba source in Hong Kong. So it seems like with respect to the crackdown news on the obviously from the Chinese authority. On Monday in Hong Kong, the stock market has rallied. So technically yesterday, and with Alibaba currently up about 6% right now, before the market opens at 9:22 a.m. So it seems like the crackdown is slowly subsiding, and investors are probably, not as influenced as we were a week ago. So again, mainly driven by media influence, media affectation. When the news is saying that, oh, it's not as bad anymore, then investors like start coming in. So that's exactly what's going on right now. So it could have been just more of a media manipulations on driving the sell-off that we've had, and that incentivizes the corporate investors or institutional investors to be buying in, right? So the crackdown was definitely an opportunity, especially with respect to crypto when we hit the close to about 3,150 on the sell-off from the 4,000. And even at 2,750, which I bought again, right? We collectively bought at the dip, right? That because of the crackdown news, right? And then the next one, the fourth one, would be Goldman Sachs cuts U.S. forecast. So on Sunday, economists at Goldman Sachs cuts the U.S. growth rates to 5.6% from the early estimates 5.7%. It's basically talking about with respect to the triangulations between the consumption rates, the reopening, the fiscal stimulus, the pent-up savings, the wealth effect, and all of these affectation while being dragged by the virus-sensitive consumer service spending now, right? It seems like there is more of a stretch out effect. We were expecting that we will recover or revive the economy sooner than expected, but it seems like we are dragging out by incrementally by months. So by that effect, will drag out by the percentage as well to from 5.7 to 5.6. Then the last one is really not related to crypto at all, but this is pretty macro news driving the tech and the EV sector that India has, they do not accept made in China Tesla electric vehicles going forward. And this is coming out from Nitin Gadkari. It's basically the tension between the two Asian giants, right? Basically, India and China are not, having some disagreement among the political dynamics. Despite India has given the stamp of approval to Tesla on the EV vehicles and the charging stations going forward, they are incentivized to do so, but they do not accept the inventories or the vehicles coming out from China because for the political reasons. So that could subsequently hinder the profit margin for Tesla and other respective EV vehicles as well going forward. So other news that I see as well is really talk about from 12 hours ago on Bazinga on Bitcoin enter a phase of consolidation amid strains of bullish news. So this is basically talking about the surge that we've experienced so far, and now we're just consolidating, right? And then the last news that I see on the list is basically, another regurgitation, talk about the El Salvador Bitcoin adoption, and Vitalik speaking against it. Okay, so that's something we already talked about. So let's take a look at the TA real quick specifically. So right now we are curving down right now. We are at 60 out of 70 right now. So we are having a really tough time getting to the 3,850. And I don't really see any specific catalyst that will subsequently drive us to go back up there. So I think the better move would be wait and cool off a little bit and wait until we get back to the 3,150. Because right now we're overbought right now, so you technically do not want to buy when it's on a premium, especially with the setup that we're seeing right now. We have like a head and shoulder. At the same time, we are forming a cup and handle that's frankly not fully formed. At the same time, the MACD is curving down, and we overbought. So none of the signs are good for us. And if you want to buy now, it's fine. Just hold it for a long term, but just know that the sell-off should be imminent. And the news has been very positive for a reason. And there isn't any specific signs that's coming out that can drive more macro catalysts on the surge going forward. So it's a bit of a stretch if you buy it now at the moment, right? So for Bitcoin, we are still stretching up. We are at the basically 56,500 at the moment. We opened at the 56,500, so we up about $200 so far. And right now, we are still extremely overbought. We're at the 74 out of 70 right now. And I think the apex is going to be formed momentarily. We have to see. And we have to see what's the next level resistance, right? So technically, the current level right now, we are basically hovering around the top levels that were formed back in May. And technically, the peak would be the 59,500. So we have to break above that level for us to further leap up, right? And again, you could see that the all-time high was the 55, right? So we still have some room to run up to. But if you look at the chart before, you could see that when we were at that level, we were relatively in the mid-level of depletion, right? So if you match that up right now, and we're at the comparable level, but we are at the 74, that means we cannot get to the 69, 64, 65 either, right? I think the highest we could get to would be the 59 and then sell back down, right? Especially on the fact that we are extremely overbought right now, 674 out of 70. And on top of the fact that this is relatively, abnormal, mainly driven by the whales. So the market imbalance is definitely very prominent. Not the best setup for public investors. So I think we're a little bit late if you didn't buy it at the 40,000, which we were talking about before. So I would definitely hold off and watch until we cool off on the RSI perspective. Dogecoin, we are still percolating. You could see that we're forming curvature already. So this is not a good setup. We're at the normalized, more of a neutral level at the 50 out of 70. So ideally buying at the 21 and the 20 and the 19 would be a better level to dollar cost average, not at the current level. We still have some room to run up to because we are slowly forming a depth cross at the moment. Cardano, we are having a lag effect still with the 47 out of 70. We're selling off because all the coins are dragging us down. So right now, ideally would be the $2.10, and then the $2 would be the right level dollar cost average. And I think with respect to, I think we have crossed already, but do we see any momentum? I think we are just kind of trading on sideways fashion until we get confirmation on the macro news, and that should subsequently drive us to go up from there. But right now, I think it's having a delay effect. Solana is still selling off a little bit. We're kind of normalizing. We're struggling around the level. But again, we are at a level that is relatively not substantive. The better level to dollar cost average at would be at the, again, right, the 110 or 111. At first level, bare minimum at the 130. I don't think you want to buy in at the moment right now. But for me, 67 is still the play. On top of the fact that we are at the normalized level, we just formed a depth cross recently. So we still have more room to fall down to. XRP, we are struggling right now. We are, you could see that we are at 62 out of 70 right now, so we need to curve down a little bit. So 110 would be a better level. 101 would be another level. 93 and 88 would be a better level dollar cost average. Polkadot, we are having we are at the 60 out of 70, so we are also curving down as well. We also have a head and shoulder, so this is not a good sign. We saw some foreshadow already that we crashed by 47% in like a blink of like 5-10 minutes. I think ideally to dollar cost average would be at the $25 level. So you have $10 to lead down from here. So with respect to the market cycle, again, right? We are at the depression and anger stage. So just take a look at the overall chart for all the coins that we've talked about so far. These are the risk management level for you to dollar cost average. Again, these are my personal preference. Feel free to use this for your own. This is basically, reminding you guys what the technicals talked about, what are the, ideal levels dollar cost average. So feel free, take a picture of this sheet or whatever for your own reference. And that's it for Monday for this morning. Really appreciate you guys for dropping by, and stay tuned for us to come up. Take care. Bye.